So you're gonna do all erotica? Oops.
Where's
the start?
The
shenanigans begin.
And the shenanigans begin just like that. Episode 68 of this fine movie podcast that we here call The Cinnamon. I'm one of your hosts, Seed, joined as always by the ravishing Douglas Davidson. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I showered 2 days ago just for you to look this good.
And we have ourselves a guest. It's been a little while since we had a guest with us, it is about time. We have the always wonderful Carol Coles. How are you doing today, Carol?
Doing good. It's been a long Monday, but I'm doing okay.
It has been a
long Monday. To the end.
Yeah,
made it to the end.
Made it to the end. It's been so long since I've seen you in person, Carol. It's good to see you here on the screen here. It's almost been about 20 something hours, maybe.
Yep.
If that actually. We're here to talk about some of our favorite female-led action movies. But before we get into that, as we always like to start these episodes off, man, movies that we've seen recently. I figured, Doug, you go first. I'll take second. And then Carol, if you want to bring up the rear, talking about the love you had of the new Jurassic show.
Oh,
the new
Jurassic
movie.
Yeah.
Get into
I love that one.
Well, before we do that, because not everybody knows Carol, for those that listen to the Cinnamon, Carol is would it be more perfect to say host or co-host of Refried Scenes?
Co-host.
Co-host. I figure, I mean, I work with Daryl, so I figure you also do most of the work.
I am no longer a part of Refried Scenes. So.
He's the cute one. So, I mean, that's his job.
my job is to show up and cause havoc. No, Refried Scenes is no longer voiced by yours truly. It is all Carol Coles and the mighty Mia Davis these days.
That's right. And we split duties. Who talks about the movies? So.
For those of you who don't know what Refried Scenes is, how about you give them a quick rundown there?
Oh, yeah. Refried Scenes is where my partner, me and I, partner in crime, basically, we watch movies and their remakes and we discuss them and then we decide which one was better.
What do you do when there's more than one of each?
We're getting to that. We're getting to that because we had a request. We had a request from a listener to do A Star Is Born, of which there are 4. And we're not looking forward to that episode.
So I haven't seen any
of them, and it's about 10 hours of film.
About 10 hours of the same film, different music.
Yeah, over and over. Depression City. We recently did Freaky Friday and The Parent Trap. We did a double feature, so we did watch 4 films.
Did you do vice versa?
Did we? No, we haven't done vice versa.
Yeah, wasn't that the Judge Reinhold, Fred Savage version of that?
Yeah.
There's a male version of that?
There's a male version, but they didn't call it Freaky Friday. We went with straight Freaky Friday.
Yeah. Okay.
We went with the Jodie Foster one and then the Lindsay Lohan one. I've seen enough Lindsay Lohan to last me forever.
So it was for my own curiosity, because I don't get to engage much with the other people that work on Paprika. Daryl seems to like to keep me just like you stay in your box. That's where you are. That's where you live.
Yes.
Which is why I've never been invited to a draft. Not that I know what the drafts are. I don't understand, but he's tried to explain it to me. I said, "You pretty," and then walked away. What made you want to do Refried Scenes, like as an idea, or was it just this wasn't being done?
Oh, it was Daryl's idea. He actually came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to do a show on Paprika? I've got this idea called Refried Scenes." And I'm like, "That's a pretty cool idea, and that's a pretty awesome name." And then when he kind of broke my heart and said, "I'm not going to do it anymore," I'm like, "Do you mind if I continue it?"
And it has continued in wonderful fashion.
Yeah, Mia, who was my roommate at the time, she's like, "Do you want to co-host?" And I'm like, it's probably better than me doing it all by myself. So, so we continued the Refried Scenes tradition, and we've watched some pretty weird movies because,
Anything you can talk about?
I sat through 2 versions of Funny Games, and it's basically the same damn film.
Yes.
Just in a different language.
How often would you say, if you could give like a rough percentage off the top of your head, that you prefer the remake more than the original. It's a fairly low number, I feel.
I feel it's about 30%.
Okay.
It's not that bad. There are some, like we did True Grit and the remake all the way. But I mean, in this last episode, I chose both originals of The Parent Trap and Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
So the original is usually the better film, but not always.
Do you feel like it could be because of what you bring to it? Like,
oh yeah.
For example, did you grow up with the original Parent Trap? So seeing a newer version was like, what am I watching?
No, I actually had not seen any of the movies that we recently watched. I just hated everybody in both movies. But yeah, it is very selective. It is very selective. Daryl and I did Infernal Affairs and The Departed, and I thought they were much closer than he did because I tend to veer toward Japanese cinema quite a bit.
Right on.
So yeah, but it's very selective as to which you prefer. But sometimes it's just obvious. We did Fright Night, and it's like, I love David Tennant, but no, it ain't even coming close to the original.
Interesting.
And the Parent Trap Freaky Friday joints be going up 2 days after this recording.
Oh, cool.
So there you go. You've been primed for it, and now
you've been really, itching for family night. we choose films by the roll of a randomizer. So we have a big list, and we just roll the randomizer, and it chooses for us.
All obey the will of the randomizer.
Yeah.
Gotta make life a little easier.
Much to the chagrin of you slipped out of Ocean's 11, and I still haven't forgiven you for it.
We also slipped out of Planet of the Apes because I wasn't going to sit through that Tim Burton mess again. There was no point. The
randomizer was not obeyed.
I've tried watching the original Ocean's 11, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get into it. I did not enjoy it. This was well before my film critic days. It was after at least the first remake of Ocean's 11, Soderbergh, had come out, and I loved that movie. And so I thought I'd try and check it out. I just couldn't get into it. It was so weird that I could not get into it. Maybe I
don't like the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
I don't like the Rat Pack.
The ending to the original Ocean's 11, the ending to the original Ocean's 11 is by far better than the ending of the Soderbergh movie. And that's when I was like, oh, this movie could have been brilliant. It's just okay with like a great last 5 minutes. It might be one of my favorite endings in all of movies, actually, because they get their just desserts. But yeah, I always love me some brief red scenes, and I'm glad that it has continued after my absence, and you and me have a great chemistry that's comes from years of friendship already. So that works. When I thought of the idea for refried scenes, I was like, there's only one person I want to do this show with, and it was Carol. And thankfully she was game enough for the shenanigans that come along.
Like, okay.
Yeah, so thank you for joining me on that journey, and thank you for being on this here episode of Paprika, man. Anytime there's more Carol, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Well, good to know why you're always in a snit whenever we do our show. There's not enough Carol.
I have an odd affection for Carol. Let's get into this episode, man.
All right.
Doug, you want to kick us off with the stuff you, sir, have seen recently?
I've watched quite a few things. I'm not going to bore y'all with my thoughts on Morbius or a few other things that I've watched recently. Instead, what I'm going to this is going to release soon, right, Daryl?
Yeah.
Okay.
End of the week.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Perfect. Then I am going to talk about 3 films that I've watched as part of Tribeca this year. The first one is a movie called Next Exit by Mally Elfman. This is her feature-length debut. If you're into sort of knowing who people are related to, she is in fact Annie Elfman's daughter. But she has worked on a number of different projects, both as a producer, as a writer, as a director. This is just her first feature. It takes place in a world in which it has been scientifically proven that ghosts exist. So if ghosts exist, what does that mean? And what does it mean when you can communicate with them? So for some people, that means they want to go to the other side in hopes that it is better than the world in which they're living now. So there is a scientist, Dr. Stevenson, played by Karen Gillan, who is running an official study looking for participants who volunteer to be killed in the effort to find out more about this science. The primary story revolves around two characters, Rose and Teddy, played by Katie Parker, and I hope I get this right, Raul Cooley. He's from iZombie. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, so I liked him in that. He is phenomenal in this. And those of you that are iZombie fans, Rose McIver shows up in a small role. I was watching her and was like, I know her from somewhere and can't figure it out. So then I realized it's because she wasn't blonde and wearing pale makeup. But the two of them are participants that are traveling from New York City all the way to San Francisco. But for one reason or another, neither of them can get the car that was rented for them by themselves. One has an expired license. One has no credit card. So by their powers combined, they're able to rent this vehicle. And so this ends up being sort of a road trip drama, comedy, sci-fi horror film. It is an odd little experience, but I enjoyed every moment of it.
All right.
I haven't heard yet where it's being picked up, but it's an XYZ Films release. And I am hoping that RLJE picks them up because they release some really great stuff. Another film I wanted to mention for folks to keep an eye out on is a documentary called The Cave of Adullam. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's apparently a religious reference to the cave that David lived in while trying to hide out from Saul. But this is directed by Laura Checkaway, and this is about an organization based out of Detroit where two gentlemen oversee this entire organization where they are trying to remove generational trauma through emotional regulation by way of martial arts and faith. So it's not a film about faith, and it's not a film about martial arts, but it's about helping these kids ages 9 to 17. And I think they've got some younger that are just in the documentary. They focus on 4 of them, but we get to hear these different stories as these kids are dealing with loss of a family member, loss of their home because they're moving, trying to reconnect with a father they've never met because he was in prison or is in prison. These kinds of very significant traumatic issues, but through the work they do at the cave, they find that they are more in control of their emotions and therefore have the ability to better process and understand the experiences that they're going through so that they can become healthier adults. It is beautiful and it is beautifully done. So highly recommend checking out that documentary. And then one that, as of the release of this, is available on Netflix now, is a documentary by Amanda McKelly, Halftime. It's the documentary about Jennifer Lopez. I own one of her albums. I bought it this year. I've worked at a top 40 station. I've worked for at least 2 urban stations. I've heard her music in various capacities. I've never necessarily been a fan, but her movie Marry Me connected with me for some reason. Part of it was that even though it's an adaptation of a webcomic, they used a lot of Jennifer Lopez's real experience to bring her character to life. And this documentary explores the about 5 to 6 months between her finding out that she was going to be hosting or headlining the Super Bowl to the actual Super Bowl. And through that period of practice and preparation, we get a look at her life through her professional lens. So this isn't an expose in any kind of way. It's not about getting into salacious details. She's fairly private in that regard. But what it does do is give you a better sense of what it's like for a woman in particular to be at the level that she's at in terms of being a dancer, singer, actor, and all the pressures that come with it. Right now, if you were to search for her name or for Shakira's name, who co-headlined that show, there's a quote going around that Jennifer Lopez said that the worst decision they ever made was having there be two headliners, with the interpretation being Jennifer Lopez is saying it should have just been her. I've watched the documentary. Everybody is mischaracterizing that quote. And the reason why I bring it up is because that's part of what the documentary talks about, is the way that she as an individual has been mischaracterized or had aspects of her misconstrued simply because she's in the public life. How many of us have taken part in the jokes about her posterior? There were whole South Park episodes about this. It's a part of her body. Why are we doing this to her? Why are we doing other things that have been done to Jennifer Lopez where they may not have done to her male counterparts who are coming up at the same time? So I think it's very fascinating what people latch onto, whether it's stands or something else. And this documentary really gets at the heart of that professional side. So I do recommend it. And again, not a Jennifer Lopez fan. I have the Marry Me soundtrack because the song's got in my head. But beyond that, I could take her leave, other than Out of Sight. Out of Sight is a phenomenal movie. Her performance in that is incredible. But so those are the three films I would recommend checking out, and Halftime is available now.
Well, there you go. There you go. I have two movies, man. Guidance.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, talk to me.
Chinese.
Can you say anything else?
Chinese. Chinese sci-fi ish drama, sci-fi drama, I guess I would call it.
Is it Chinese?
I do believe so.
Okay.
The setup is we have invented a pill that if you swallow it, it is basically swallowable, digestible software that can install itself in the human body and detect when someone is lying to you. And then there's different security levels. So if you just want to have a warning go off when someone's telling you a white lie, or you can go all the way up to like, if we both took this, then we're all in and we're of one mind, damn near, basically. There's no secrets, no hiding anything. And it is taken by a couple where one of them may have just had a little bit of infidelity. It's so
they may have, they weren't sure, but they picked some up. They're like, maybe I'll have this, maybe I'll have this.
It's malware. I swear, honey, it's malware.
Yeah, so it's a look at their relationship through the lens of you can't lie to the person or to the other one. It's a very minimalistic film. It's pretty much three people for the most part throughout the entire movie. It's the couple, and it is the person who created the software, who happens to be the ex-boyfriend of the woman involved in this couple. Yeah, so there's some shadiness in there. There's some layers going on. Wonderful cinematography, great natural light all throughout it. They go on a retreat away, and the place they go to is just this one of those giant like open homes with this like the huge like the Parasite giant panes of glass. Like that's the entire house. So there's a little bit of like interspersing.
Gotta be transparent.
Gotta be true.
Nothing to hide.
Yeah, exactly. So you get like a little bit of connect with nature because they do go on hikes all throughout the movie as well while they're trying to sort their shit out. There's bonding, there's fighting, there's the walking on eggshells after the fighting, and all that kind of comes into play. A nice little twist at the very end of the movie. I think it is very worthwhile. I think it's only like 90 something minutes too. So it's dope, and it's a short watch if you're looking for something short, man. Guidance hits I do believe
Soon,
June
right?
17th.
So Friday.
Yeah, Friday. So it hits 2 days if you're listening to this the day it comes out on VOD, man. So go ahead and check that out, man. It's available on all the usual platforms, your iTunes, your Amazon, your Google, your Vudu, all that good shit.
If I remember correctly, it's being released by Good Deed Entertainment, and they've released some really good stuff. I haven't seen a lot of it, but they released Lucky Grandma about a year or two ago, and that was one of my favorite films of the year.
It is indeed Good
right
Deed
on.
Entertainment. Yeah. Definitely dope. Definitely worth checking out. Also, man, I saw Lightyear. I thought this movie was fun as shit. I kind of, it's one of those, I kind of suspected I knew I was going to like it going into it. And it was just like, well, suspicion is confirmed. I've seen today, since I think today was the day reviews could go out, full reviews, not social media reviews, but full reviews. A lot of people are criticizing it because it is not coming with the usual Pixar heft. When you think about the last run of movies they've had with things like Inside Out and Coco and Moana, it's a lot of heavy themes involved, or a lot of introduction to cultures that you don't normally see represented, like Polynesian culture in Moana, or Asian culture there in Raya and the Last Dragon. Lightyear's none of that. It's just a straight fun action movie, and I think this was a conscious decision by Pixar to be like, oh, let's just ease up and give them something fun for the summer. And it's being, for some reason, criticized for not being as thematically deep as the other ones. And I don't see what's wrong with making just a fun, dope action movie. I mean, that's kind of what the character was designed for in the first place. Doug, you were there if you want to talk about that for me.
I will very briefly say my biggest problem with Lightyear is how heavy-handed it was. If it had had a lighter touch, I would have enjoyed it more. The number of times we as an audience got beaten over the head with Buzz's lesson, to learn, became obnoxious.
Yeah,
but I
some motherfuckers just want to ice skate uphill, man. They take a little bit longer to get to the lesson, man.
And I also felt like it leaned a little too hard on the stuff to sell the toys, if that makes sense.
Like socks.
No, because someone commented on this. Carol, are you familiar with the advertising and stuff for Lightyear? Okay.
Yeah, the commercial in the middle of the Oscars.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a great award. Here's an ad for my new movie, Lightyear.
Yep. Yeah. First of all, socks, best fucking thing about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I bought you 5 minutes. Like that fucking just all of it. Socks is great. Andy would have had a socks toy. I'm just saying right now, forget Buzz, he would have had a socks toy, or at least with him. So there's
single mothers who could only afford one or the other.
That's fair. There was some stuff that I liked how they worked in, but there were so many things that were obvious callbacks to the toy of Toy Story, that if it were a little less beholden to that, like if there's one thing that happened that I absolutely loved, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but like I vocally got excited for how they worked something in. Other stuff was just like, okay, we get it. So I had no problem with the film not being like Turning Red or Encanto, some of the new, more recent Walt Disney animation films, and this is a Disney Pixar production. I didn't have a problem with that. This is a fun homage to the sci-fi films of the 90s and before. As Crystal pointed out, that's now 2 movies Chris Evans has been in with a reference to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
What's the other one?
Endgame, when they're flying in space, because it's his first time. They have there's a shot of Evans with on his eyeball, you can see the stars as they fly past.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, right on.
Crystal was laughing at that bit. She wasn't there, for those of you listening, but I was telling her about it. So I love the homages. I loved all those little things. I loved that it was this neat adventure that little Andy, it was his Star Wars. I'm totally down for that. There was other stuff where I went, it's fine. We could have moved this along a little bit.
Yeah, for those who aren't quite sure what the setup here is, because it seems like the marketing kind of muddied this. It is not based on a quote unquote we're like Buzz Aldrin, and then they made the movie up. It is a movie. Lightyear is a movie that Andy watched.
Yes.
And he loved that movie, and he wanted the Buzz Lightyear toy. So in Andy's world, their version of Disney, I assume, made this Lightyear. Pretty much, Disney met it themselves.
Yes.
And Disney in that world probably also owns Pizza Planet, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. I think the best way to sum it up, Joel Winstead, friend of the show, he said sometimes motherfucker just wants to eat popcorn, and that's what this movie is for. It's a fun, breezy ride. You should have a fun time. Speaking of fun times, Carol, you watched Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Shit-eating
so I
grin
don't
on
get
your face,
screeners
sir.
of movies. I have to actually go to the theater. And I went and saw Jurassic World Dominion. I wasn't going to because I really hated Fallen Kingdom. I hated it with a passion. And I told myself I'm never going to watch another Jurassic Park, World, whatever. And then they brought back Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern. And I'm like, God damn it, they pulled me back in. Yeah, waste of money. Of course, what I say doesn't make a damn bit of difference because it made its budget back in the first weekend, so it doesn't really matter. But the dinosaurs are secondary to the plot, and you never want to do that with a Jurassic whatever. They need to be central, and they really have nothing to do with the plot here. They're just there as obstacles to be overcome. And yeah, it's dumb. You got some nice effects. You have dinosaurs with feathers. That's about the best thing about it. I can't even say I enjoyed the
Aaron Mitchell would be pleased.
Yeah, I can't even say I enjoyed Alan Grant and Ellie and Ian Malcolm coming back because their storyline the whole thing was dumb. It was just so dumb. There's a mega corporation that spends billions on DNA and not a dime on security. And paints big red, marks on them. Hi, we're the bad guys. This is us doing everything bad. We're evil.
No subtleties, huh?
Yeah, it's just a bad film. So as bad as Fallen Kingdom, and I didn't think that was possible.
When I saw, what was the first Jurassic World?
Just Jurassic World.
Just Jurassic World. I saw that and I was like, and this is where I think I'm done with all the Jurassic nonsense. So far, I've stuck to my guns. They almost tried to pull me back in by bringing the original 3, but I was like, no, you made a promise to yourself. And tell myself
I will say
in the mirror.
At least Bryce Dallas Howard, who I constantly get confused with Jessica Chastain, at least she wears reasonable shoes.
Okay.
In this film. But then she's parkouring around Malta like Ethan Hunt, and it's just like, okay, where did she learn to do that?
A lot of time takes place between each of those movies, and if you survive that first movie, you better fucking go do parkour. You know you're going to need it at some point.
All right.
She swims through swamps, and her makeup's still perfect afterwards. It's amazing.
It's lovely. It's lovely. This is Trevorrow, right? Did he do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations, Trevorrow.
Yeah.
You got yourself a hit movie, I guess.
I won't be back for 4, and I'm sure there will be one.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be one. Or at the least, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a hiatus after this trilogy and then give it like another 5-6 year breather. Reboot. Yeah, and then another mild reboot from
what irritated me is, as of the last movie, dinosaurs are like everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the parks. You're running into them down the street. And that's not the main focus of the movie. It's like, shouldn't we be focusing on how we're dealing with the Brontosaurus in the backyard?
So it's dinosaurs everywhere, but nowhere.
But nowhere, yeah, except just when they're needed to chase people around.
So resorted to a plot device. Douglas, you look so disappointed.
I've seen 1 and 4. That's it.
I love the first one. I love Jurassic Park. I think Jurassic Park is an awesome film. I don't think anything has lived up to it.
Not even close.
Not even the special effects.
I read the book. I was big into Michael Crichton when I was a kid. And I was maybe 12 or 13 when I read Jurassic Park. I forget what year the film itself came out. But I saw it in theaters. I thought it was fantastic. And for some reason, I haven't thought about it much since. Like, I went through a phase where I was like, this is amazing. And then I just moved on. Some movies, they stick with you. Other movies, they do not. And for some reason, Jurassic Park, I'm like, cool. And I keep moving.
That's just the wildest take I've ever heard on Jurassic Park. Well,
look, man, Krista loves the movie. We still don't own a copy. Don't judge me. I'm in good company.
I have to say, you two were made for each other then. All right, then, man. Let's roll on to why we're here today, man. We're here to talk about Speaking of Bryce Dallas Howard parkouring all over the place, female-led action movies are what we're here to talk about. I'll throw to Doug for his ridiculous rundown on what we mean by female-led action movies, as if we didn't realize. And Doug has now left the building, so I'm going to give you some examples of female-led.
I didn't leave the room. I think my door's been open this whole time. I thought I had it closed, and my kids are asleep, so I'm trying not to. I wanted to just go shut the door. So you want some rundown? You want to run down on some female-led action movies. So we've got some recent ones like Birds of Prey, Atomic Blonde, and The Old Guard. We've got pick your version of Charlie's Angels. We have Underworld and Kill Bill. We've got Miss Bala and Colombiana, Salt. I would argue T2 is a female-led action movie. We've got Hannah and Tank Girl, which Daryl mentioned very early on. We've also got films like Chocolate. And we've got, let's see, no, that was the end of my more modern run. But then we can go all the way back to Run Run Shaw with Come Drink With Me and Cheng Pei Pei.
Yeah.
We've got the Heroic Trio, Michelle Yeoh. We've got Super Cop, Sister Street Fighter. We've got Yes, Madam, which is Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. And of course, that also includes China O'Brien. So we've got decades worth of female-led action films, and that doesn't even include the ones that were on like Skinamax. So
whole different kind of action there, buddy.
A whole different kind of action movie. So we've got, there are all kinds, and my list, the hard part was coming up with a third one. As soon as we came up with this topic, I had two nailed. So I can't wait to get into these because it lets me talk about some movies that I dig a lot. But Miss Carol, would you like to go first as the guest of the episode? You can
I'm
also
going to go
say
for my
no.
number one. My number one is Ellen Ripley in Aliens.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Don't talk about it for a second.
Aliens is not my favorite alien movie.
Doesn't have to be.
Alien is my favorite alien movie, but Ellen Ripley is fantastic in both of them. I just chose Aliens because it is the more action forward of the two. And she is the most action oriented in that one, even though she's surrounded by a bunch of colonial Marines who get taken out pretty damn quickly because they don't listen to her. Nobody listens to Ripley. Everyone dies because no one listens to Ripley. It's the plot of the first one is no one listened to her and everyone died except the cat.
Yeah, but the cat doesn't listen to anybody.
The cat doesn't listen to anybody. And the cat was carried off. So but yeah, I think she's pretty fantastic in this. I think it was the first time in a very long time that someone was nominated for a major award for an action film because she was nominated for Best Actress.
Oh, right on. I did not know that.
As much as I dislike Newt, because Newt is my one hiccup in this movie, I just don't like Newt.
I forgot about this.
The reason why Newt is there, I wish they had left in that Ripley had a daughter.
Is that taken out of the theatrical release?
It was taken out of the theatrical release because they took it out of the theatrical release of Alien.
Okay.
So it makes more sense if you leave that in.
Yeah.
But I think Ellen Ripley is kick-ass. I even liked her in 3. If you're watching the non-theatrical cut of Alien 3, what is that called? It's called the.
That's not Resurrection, is it?
No, it's the David Fincher one that he removed his name from.
Is it just Aliens 3?
Yeah, that's Alien Q. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that takes place, the industrial cut of Alien 3 is a much better film than the theatrical version.
Okay.
And I think she's actually really good in that one too, although she's surrounded by men in that film. But she's still beating the shit out of them. So
that's always a plus. As she should be. Yeah, just surrounded by swaggering cocks all over too. But it did give us like one of the best ideas of Space Marines, thanks to Cameron. So you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, get away from her, you bitch. The great kick-ass line. Not knowing, like the very first time watching it, like why are we getting this random scene of her and in a glorified forklift? Like this makes no sense. Like this just to make her look badass, and then it all comes back in at the end and it makes sense and it ties up nicely. Fan of this movie, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Davidson, what is your first?
My first, it comes from 2017. So all of these are going to be more modern. films. But when I think of female-led action films, unfortunately, most of my knowledge is more modern, and so I'm working on that. But this film comes from South Korea, 2017.
No. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Oh, is it because you also have excellent taste? Are you also a man of culture?
Because I do not like this movie.
What? Well, let's find out. It's The Villainess.
Mm-hmm.
What? Why don't you like this movie?
I tried watching it like 2 days ago, actually, as I work my way through my list for the action movie list, slowly but surely whittling down movies for that. I was like, okay, I got time to like sneak in. Actually, I watched it right before we did the draft yesterday. Yeah, it's just that over convoluted plot. Like the action is good. The plot's just over convoluted and weird. And I went and looked at a couple of letterbox reviews, and there's a couple people in there like, yeah, I had to keep checking Wikipedia regularly to see if I was following along with the story like I was doing. And I think I abandoned it like maybe halfway, 3/4 in. I was like, this just is not holding my attention at all. But please, you, sir, speak on it and get down with it. It is not my 2017 of choice, but it is yours.
I did not find it confusing at all. I found it about as easy to follow as Tenet.
Okay, that's pretty easy to follow.
Yeah, Daryl.
And one of the, when I looked at Letterboxd and I was like, let me go see what the reviews was talking about. I saw a big, sloppy, wet 4-star review from Douglas Davidson right there. And I was like, this all tracks.
Yes. I forget. Did I write anything about it? Yeah, I did. I wrote La Femme Nikita mixed with elements from Hardcore Henry and Kill Bill craft an engrossing film. Interestingly, for a film so focused on creating engaging fight sequences, it's the narrative that's the most compelling. And I agree. I mean, I wrote it, but I wrote it years ago. You get through the whole movie, everything makes sense. Now, let me put it to you this way. I have 1 hour left in RRR. I have unfortunately had to watch it in pieces, but I have found very natural portions to stop. If I watched just the first hour and a half of that movie, of a three-hour movie, and I'd be like, why? None of this makes any sense. This is all so confusing. Finish the damn movie. Now, if it doesn't hold your attention, I totally get it. 13 Assassins was like that for me, but then a good friend of mine challenged me to watch it, and it was the best goddamn decision I ever made.
I mean, decision you made by being challenged to it, yes.
Well, yeah. Best decision. You right challenged me to that, thank you. And I went and watched it, and it was amazing. So I'm just saying, sometimes when you're in a different frame of mind, give it another try.
All right, then.
Because this movie is badass, and it's so badass that it inspired the motorcycle sequence in John Wick Chapter 3, a movie which is not my favorite of the Wick series. It is definitely my third favorite of the three films, but its action sequences are pretty stellar. And to have straight up ripped off this movie, that's talent recognizing talent. So
yeah, I got to that scene and I was like, why does this look so fucking familiar? It's like Japanese people on business suits and motorcycles with swords should just be in every action movie that ever exists. I don't care if the movie is set in the 1300s. I want people in motorcycles in business suits with swords in my action movies. But yeah, I guess that's where
it was weird when that happened in 13 Assassins, like they locked down the building and motorcycles went by.
Okay, in the Qing Dynasty era. Okay. Makes sense. All right, right on. My first pick, since we're in the 2017s, I will go with my 2017 pick, adapted from the graphic novel, man, The Coldest City. It is Atomic Blonde, man. I love the ever-loving shit out of Atomic Blonde. It is everything I want in an action movie. Charlize Theron is just absolutely amazing all throughout it. It's just a dope spy movie. I love good spy movies. I'm a huge mark for neon films, and there's just splashing neon all over this movie. And its cinematography is excellent. It's directed by David Leitch, who is one of the Wicks. One of the Wick dudes. So we're keeping one of the original Wicks. So they got that. I think Bullet Train. No, that's Stahelski. Is that Leitch or Stahelski?
No, that's Leitch.
That's Leitch. So I'm already more pumped for Bullet Train with those two ridiculous trailers that they put out.
So am I.
Yeah, you are. All right, then we'll call it a date, Carol. We're going to see Bullet Train together.
I am totally looking forward to Bullet Train.
Yeah, this movie is just a good fun joint. Great turn by John Goodman, man. Till Schweiger, hadn't seen that cat since Inglourious Basterds. I think this is the first time I saw Pennywise, whichever goofy ass Skarsgård that is. He's in this movie for a little bit as well. It's just a great movie all around. It's. I'm not a huge fan of is that Sofia Boutella that's in this movie? Yeah, not a huge fan of her, but I like what she did in this movie as well. It's just a straight dope, a little bit gritty. I like a good period spy piece. It's just got all the elements, man. That stew is right for me.
Right on. It's a great fun film, and I really want there to be a follow-up. Personally, Carol, have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I loved Atomic Blonde. That was a fun time in the theater. That was a damn good popcorn flick. And I would love to see a sequel to it. I don't. Did it do well enough to do that?
No.
Yes. Budget 30 million, box office 100 million.
We need Charlize to get on this.
She's trying to
destroy the family. She's part of the old guard. She's got time to take out the Seven.
Yeah, now she's in the MCU. It's just all wild from here on out.
And she's in the Voight CU.
That's the what?
Carol, did you get that joke?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Boys season 3, opens with a straight up ripoff of Zack Schneider called Dawn of
the Seven, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But the movie, it opens with a fake movie about the Seven in The Boys getting together, fighting Stormfront, who was the villain in season 2. I haven't seen season 2 yet. Basically skipping it. And Stormfront at the end of season 2, spoilers, gets fucking decimated.
Yeah.
Okay. So they need a replacement. Is Charlize Theron.
Lovely.
Who apparently did it because Seth Rogen asked her to, and she would apparently, quote, walk over glass for him or crawl over glass for him.
The strange, goofy appeal of that ridiculous fool. I love him for it. But yeah, man, Atomic Blonde, great joint, man. I love everything. And yes, we do need a sequel. Put that old guard shit down, Charlize, and give us more Atomic Blonde.
Well, I like the old guard, so I'm excited for a follow-up on that.
I just no. It was like
potential, and I'll talk about why after Miss Carol gives us her next one.
All right, Carol, on you for number 2.
Okay. Kind of controversial, but Rogue One.
Not controversial over here.
One of my favorite.
Well, I guess you like it because you rebel.
It's not a perfect movie, but it does have a pretty kick-ass woman in the lead, and I think it's one of the better of the modern Star Wars films. I'm not a hater of the sequels. I think they have their good points, their bad points, and I still think Last Jedi is the best of the 3.
Yeah.
And I will fight you on that.
You're in good company.
But I think Rogue One is better than all 3 of those. So I like the fact that they just kind of embraced the downer ending.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not even a particular fan of, oh gosh, who plays Jen Erso?
Felicity
Jones.
Felicity Jones. I'm not a particular fan of her, but I think she did a really good job. And I cared about the characters enough to cry at the end.
There you go. Yeah, man.
Plus the Weasley little bad guy and Ben Mendelsohn. He does Weasley so well. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed Rogue One, even with CGI Grand Moff Tarkin.
And CGI Leia.
Well, they could have done without CGI Leia.
Yeah, they could have. I was thinking about it the other day, and I couldn't remember the last great Weasley bad guy we had before Ben Mendelsohn came along, but he's been knocking it out of the park as far as Weasley bad guys. Like so well that they set it up for the switch there in Captain Marvel, where he's not really all that bad. Yeah, I love it specifically for Felicity Jones and Weasley ass Ben Mendelsohn. I think those are the best parts of the movie. So I'm interested to see what they do with Andor, but I think I would have loved like the interim in between of like what Jyn Erso got up to and how she lands in jail. You're like, what was she? What kind of nonsense was she getting into? But good movie, man. I love it.
She was just rebelling.
Just out there rebelling. Just dumb shit. This drink costs $45. I'm just going to pay $32. I rebel.
That's how she ended up in jail.
She ended up in jail. Doug, where does Rogue One land on your list of
Star Wars?
Yeah.
God, that'd probably be number 3. I like it a little bit better than Return of the Jedi.
Okay. All right. Douglas?
Where's Alderaan right now?
Blasted away. Oh no, no. Oh man. See, this is what I have to work with, Carol. This is what I have to work
with. because now, I mean, love what you love. Love what you love. We did a Patreon episode where we got into a really dumb argument about it. It was so much fun, but it was a super dumb argument because we're talking about movies. So it is super dumb, but we had a fun time doing it. I have problem. I didn't feel any connection to the characters whatsoever. Where they resonated for you, they did not resonate for me.
Oh, so they did for me.
No. And I'm glad. I'm not going to try and convince you that you shouldn't feel that way. I'm just saying it didn't work for me. I had a problem with the editing. They did so much jumping between planets that it didn't feel like there was a through line. That even when you're bringing together large groups of people, we talked about Ocean's 11 earlier on in the episode, that has large groups, but there's a through line so that as we're going from location to location, it makes sense as you're doing it. For me, there's so much about Rogue One where just a shift in the editing, the order of how things would go, it might feel a little less chaotic. And how we go to Jyn Erso through her journey, it's, for me, there's no way to make it resonate. So I didn't buy anything about this group coming together, and I wanted to. And in case you haven't heard this story, that was my birthday weekend movie. So I was super excited. I was watching it with friends, and I got a migraine in it. So it definitely ruined my experience. So when it came out on home video, we bought it. My wife wasn't able to see it. So I watched it with her and finished it, and I still didn't like it. So just because it's my least favorite Star Wars movie, doesn't mean anything because it's still a Star Wars movie. Still Star Wars.
How is that better than Clone Wars? Oh, how is it not better than Clone Wars?
That's a good ass question.
Yoda fighting what's his face?
Not Attack of the Clones. You asked for Attack
of the Clones?
I'm
talking the animated Clone Wars movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
really bad Truman Capote impersonating Hut.
Yeah, it's not great.
I haven't seen any of the animated ones, so I
okay. You can skip Clone Wars.
Stick with that.
The show is good, but the movie is I didn't think.
That's one of my small handful of walkouts.
That was a bad film.
Wait, you talking live action or animated?
That's an animated. Yeah, they did an animated Clone Wars movie.
Okay, just making sure we're all on the same page.
Right before the TV series started.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I find it weird that you say they jump from planet to planet when they have like the opening business with young Jyn Erso, and then after that little prelude, it follows the same 3-planet 3-act structure that every other Star Wars movie does.
You know what? I'd be delighted when my kids are vaccinated. I'll sit down and watch it with you, and I'll help you take notes. I will break that glass for you, Daryl.
Okay, all right then, fine. There you go. Rogue One commentary.
We'll sit. We'll watch. I'll go. Okay, you see this shit? You see that shit? Here, let's rewind that. That's shit right there. Someone made this choice.
Totally disagree.
Totally disagree. All right.
Absolutely no problem with it. Love what you love.
Agreed to be wrong. So the next joint on my list, number 2. I'm gonna go. I guess I'll just do all mine in reverse chronological order, man. Take it back 2003, Kill Bill Volume 1. High on my Tarantino list. It might be like number 3, I think, on my Tarantino list. His homage use those words in heavy air quotations. His homages tend to be more ripoffs than anything else, but his homage to the martial arts genre with his own Tarantino flair added to it. I'd say straight revenge story, bloody, fun, great action, great choreography of said action. And of course, like the showdown at the House of Leaves, I think stands as one of my favorite action scenes in movies. All the choices that he makes there are wonderful. Even the choice to go to black and white seems like it's artful, but it's done for, you know, necessities purposes to make sure you secure that R rating. Yep. It's just great all around. I think it's my favorite. Oh, I don't think it is my favorite Uma Thurman outing. It's just fun. It's fun. I think it is grossly hindered by part 2, which is nowhere near as good as part 1 is. And it feels. What you say?
Could this be one movie?
It's supposed to be one movie. He found the whole bloody affair. He found the perfect breaking point because, man, that back half really shifts into something else that I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, the showdown with Lucy Liu at the end there, great homage to Lady Snowblood there, which I have right here. Still have not watched it yet, but I can't wait to get down with that. But yeah, great movie all around. It is one of my favorite Tarantino joints.
Right on. My second film is one I've talked about before, so I'm not going to speak on it too much. It's a film from 2019 by director Lee Van Kiet. It's Vietnamese, if I remember correctly.
The Vietnamese Lee Van Cleef?
No.
Okay.
Rude. Film by the name of Fury. It stars Veronica Nago, who I believe also produced it. I forget if she had a hand in the writing of it or not. Part of the reason why I'm excited about it, The Old Guard as a sequel, she was teased as Veronica Nago. She was teased as playing Charlize character's like old friend that became the enemy. And Veronica will actually be, she was in The Last Jedi as Rose Tica's sister, who dies at the start of the film.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That is her. And there's an upcoming Hulu / 20th Century Studios movie called The Princess, R-rated, but it's Jamie King. Crap, I can't think of her name all of a sudden. But it is a very talented Caucasian young lady, and and Veronica in a Lee Van Kiet movie called The Princess that is coming to streaming on July 1st. This is going to drive me crazy that I can't think of the other actor's name. Joey King. There we go. Jamie King is very, very different. Joey King. Anyway, Fury, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, is about a mom whose daughter gets kidnapped by human traffickers. And so she literally fights her way through everybody to get her daughter back. And the thing is that she was a former gang leader who gave up that life to be a mom. And so she sort of has to go back to her roots to save her child. It is gorgeously shot. The action is wonderfully structured. You can follow everything. There's emotion in this. Like, you are rooting for her the entire time. It is a great damn movie. So glad I got to see it in 2019. Was streaming on Netflix for a while. Definitely recommend checking it out. But if you got streaming access, like I said, Veronica and Lee Van Kiet are working together again starting July 1st. So I'm going to be there.
Man, if only she'd been a chef instead of a gang leader, it'd have been Pig all over again.
I can't remember if cleavers were involved in this movie, so I can't say.
All right on. I want to check that out. That sounds kind of interesting to me. So I'm going to put that on my list to check out.
It's super great. It's super great.
Sold. All right, then, Carol, your last movie, ma'am.
My last movie, I don't know if it qualifies as action, so I will leave it to you whether or not it qualifies as action, and that is Annihilation.
Doug?
I abstain from any discussion involving that movie.
You and Alex Garland got beef?
You do have a backup.
You do. What's the backup?
I do have a backup.
I feel like there's not enough action in Annihilation. It's more cerebral and thinky than it is action.
Yeah, but the action is significant to everything else. I mean, look at that final sequence. Yes, it is a bit of a dance that is taking place, but fighting done well communicates.
Mhm.
Speaking of RRR, all of the fights in that movie move the story forward. And the little bit of fighting you get in Annihilation always moves the story forward. So I will give that film that much. Even the bear showing up moves that story forward. Best part of the movie.
It moves Daryl forward out of the room into a different room, which is exactly what happened when I watched it.
That is a very scary ass bear. That is
all right then, Carol.
Right.
I personally have no problem with it, but Daryl likes the movie, so his opinion will carry more weight than mine.
See, Carol, see what I said? Like, this is what I got to work with. Yeah, go for it.
My backup is Tank Girl, so we can talk Tank Girl if you want.
Let's stick with Annihilation.
Okay.
I'll boot up the soundtrack right now if you want me to. That movie is amazing.
Tank Girl's problematic, but it is still amazing. But Annihilation was my favorite film of that year. I am not a huge Natalie Portman fan. I actually wandered into the theater because I just wanted to see a movie, and the next two movies showing were either Annihilation or Red Sparrow, that horrible Jennifer Lawrence.
No.
Well, I don't like Jennifer Lawrence and I don't like Natalie Portman, but I have read Annihilation, and I kind of want to see how they did that because the book is completely inside somebody's head.
Yeah.
So I was curious how they adapted that. And I remember walking out of the theater going, that was the best 20 minutes of film. The last 20 minutes of this film are like the best thing I've seen since 2001: A Space Odyssey on IMAX. It was amazing. And I love the fact that it's a bunch of women going in there. They're all flawed. That's deliberate. They all have flaws, but very deliberately have flaws. I even liked, oh God, who played the commander?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh. I loved her in this as well. But I was amazed at how much I liked Natalie Portman in this because normally I don't.
Yeah.
Plus, it was scary and it was eerie, and it just really worked for me.
Same, really worked for me. It's all about tone in that movie, and Garlic set that tone early, and he just keeps it consistent throughout. And that tone is usually creepy and unsettling. Yeah, he does that also to varying effects in men as well. I think I'm also with you on the Natalie Portman. She's hit or miss for me. Like every fifth movie, I'm like, oh, she's back. And then like 4 movies go by and I'm like, oh, she's back. I love it. My first thought leaving that movie is this poor film is going to get slaughtered by Black Panther. And that's exactly what happened. Just no one saw it or talked about it. I think it was number 2 on our top 10 for that year, Douglas. And I love that movie to death.
So borderline action. I'm cheating a little bit.
Yeah, it's allowed. Daryl does it all the time.
All right, then, Doug, you're...
No, you messed up the order on the second round, so you get to go. I get to be last this time.
Okay, fine. 1996, Long Kiss Goodnight. Shane Black, man, doing what Shane Black does with these kinds of scripts. Gina Davis as Charlie Baltimore, man. Samuel L. Jackson. This is like one of the early rises of Samuel L. Jackson. I think this is us transitioning into heavy motherfucker Samuel L. Jackson, which is like prime peak Sam. It's just a great action movie about the assassin with amnesia doesn't remember that other life. I think they do this better than Born Identity does it. And just the kidnapping of the daughter brings out those latent abilities and skills that she didn't realize, or she's to put into good use. Forgettable ass villain, but nobody cares about the villain because this is all about Gina Davis kicking ass and her relationship with Samuel L. Jackson and Brian Cox showing up there for Douglas's cup of coffee. It's a great movie. It is a fun movie. It's explosions and bullets and action all throughout towards the very end. I love it to pieces, and I cannot wait to rewatch it for where it's going to place that on the 100 action movie list. It's one of those ones it's like a rewatchable. If it's on at any point on TV, You can just sit down and ride the rest out, man. Love this movie.
I haven't seen that in a long, long time.
I think I last saw it about maybe like 10 years ago. It's been a while. Can't wait to revisit that bad boy. It was one of those ones when it first came out on DVD. I was like, yoink.
I think I saw that in the theater, and that's the last time I saw it. But I also think I forget if it was based on a book, and so I read the book, or if I picked up the novelization. But I remember enjoying that too. I went through a Jason Bourne phase for a while, so I was reading a lot of Ludlum, which was phenomenal. But he's got a bandage on him, and they're doing a countdown, and she's got a persona back. I forget what she mocks him with when she rips the Band-Aid off, but that always made me laugh when I thought about it.
It gives us the Frank and Ernest line at the very end. When I'm in New York, I'm Frank, and when I'm in California, I'm Ernest. And that line will always crack me up, make me laugh. And though his reaction to it, like it's the funniest thing mankind has ever said, also makes me laugh. I love the hell out of this movie.
I'm gonna have to revisit it. I like Gina Davis as an action star. Unfortunately, after the pirate movie, everything went to hell.
First of all, don't be surprised if Cutthroat Island makes it onto the 100 action movie list, because I adore the shit out of
Cutthroat Island is not a terrible film.
No, I think good little swashbuckle.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't made at the right time. If that had come out right after Pirates of the Caribbean, that would have been a very successful film.
It would have been a very successful. Unfortunately, this movie is why we didn't get Pirates of the Caribbean until we got it.
I have no recollection of this movie at all, other than I know I saw it in theaters.
I think I saw it in theaters too, and I was like, "Oh, this might be the best thing ever put on film." I'm so glad you kept watching movies. You and me both. Right now, it is hovering on the bubble. It's like right there, like the
I wouldn't put
90s.
It on my top 100, but it's not a terrible film.
I love me a good swashbuckle, and I say it a million times. Hollywood forgot how to make swashbuckling movies, so I got to hold tight to the ones I got. Doug, what is your final movie? My final movie I settled on because I was going through the list of films and I couldn't figure out I wanted to highlight some movies. And this is a film I've talked about on the Cinnamon before, but the reason why I chose it for my last one is honestly, quite frankly, my own excitement. It is finally going to be available for people in the US to see. Coming to Hi-Ya at some point this summer, streaming service for martial arts movies, for those of you who don't know. And then, getting a physical release from Well Go USA is a movie that I saw last fall. Forget which film festival, either Fantasia or Fantastic Fest. I think it was Fantastic Fest. Baby Assassins. If I remember correctly, it's a directorial debut from Yugo Sakamoto. It's about two high schoolers who are hitmen. And they graduate, and so they are forced to live together. And the way that they interact with each other, the way that the jobs go, the way that they get sucked into a sort of power struggle that's going on in a family, it's all so absolutely hilarious. And it's some of the best action I've seen in modern martial arts / action cinema. It was in my top 10 list for last year. I have talked about this movie nonstop. And when I tell you that I opened up my home release review copy of Ip Man: The Awakening, and the promotional liner fell out that said "Coming soon, Baby Assassins," I screamed. If you Google Baby Assassins, you will get an IMDb hit, a Rotten Tomatoes hit. Usually that's how it goes when you Google movies. And then you get down to the trailers and clips part of a Google hit. 1, 2, 3, fourth one there. Douglas Davidson on Twitter talking about Baby Assassins.
This movie is so much fun, and it manages to maintain its tone throughout. It opens with a sequence that is such a solid action moment that you're wondering how they're going to top it with that particular character. By the end of the movie, they figure out how to do it naturally, so that you're just like, yay, something, like not in a yay, something's happening, but yay, it's happening. It just gets you so excited. And the fact that these are two young performers certainly makes me feel like if they continue on this action path for even a period of time, we are going to be dazzled by them for a while. So I'm super excited about that.
Is it afraid to kick a lot of ass? I feel like it's not afraid to kick a lot of ass.
I feel like you're making fun of me in the title of my review, sir.
Yeah, right below Douglas Davidson on Twitter is the Elements of Madness review. I have that pulled up, so I will be reading that after I get done here, sir.
It's spoiler free.
Excellent.
I ruined nothing.
What I like to hear. Fantastic fest, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think that about wraps up all three. I'm very surprised, actually. We had no overlaps on this. Yay, hooray for different tastes.
Atomic Blonde was on my list of 5, but I moved down to other ones because you chose Atomic Blonde.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's good stuff. So if you haven't checked out any of those movies, man, there you go. I do believe that Doug on Elements of Madness is always good about listing out these things when we put the shows up, aren't you? Nope, do you not?
No.
Oh. Listen to the whole thing
mean,
again and then write them down.
No. You mean the movies we've mentioned? Yes, I do include those. And while I know you feel like it's a spoiler that people can go look at the tags,
yeah, man,
I do that so that if they see that Daryl has mentioned, what nonsense did you mention today?
All of it.
Atomic Blonde, that people can click on that and see every episode, or if there was a review of Atomic Blonde, so they can go find out more information on a movie that intrigued them.
There you go.
That's my professional rebuttal to you.
Thank you, Carol, for...
No, I'm Douglas. I did the rebuttal.
Thank you again, Carol, for coming along on this journey with us. Hopefully you had a good time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
this was harder than I thought, because everything I was thinking of, they weren't like female led. I really wanted to talk Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but technically speaking,
I think there's equal weight between Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun Fat.
Yeah, although I probably could have talked Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I do think that technically qualifies as action.
I mean, there's a lot of action up in there.
Yeah.
You get to find out soon.
I think that they hit some video soon.
July 5th. I've already pre-ordered my copy.
There you go. All right, that is it. Do you have anything before we dip out here, Mr. Davidson?
I do not, other than I'll be releasing more Tribeca reviews if anybody is interested in the few films I'm watching from there. Halftime will be dropping hopefully by the time this does, if not sooner. I've got a giveaway coming out for the Ip Man new movie, Ip Man: The Awakening. So if you would like a free copy of that, look for the giveaway information.
Boom, done and done. All right, that is it for episode 68 of Cinema. We'll be back shortly. 69, man, keeping this train right on rolling, man. Nice steady production schedule right now. Once again, Carol, where can the peoples find you at, man?
Well, you can find me on Paprika Reviews with Refried Scenes. I do movie reviews and book roundups for geekradiodaily.com. And we are starting back up Guardians of the Geekery. So hopefully we'll get on a good schedule for that. Right now we've been having some personal things hinder us from recording. So Guardians of the Geekery should be back up and running.
Finally.
And if you like bad movies and you have Amazon Prime, I am on Twitch Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on my friend Oh Hi Mark's channel. We watch a bad movie and then we discuss it. We did Turbulence last night, and ouch, that was painful.
All right, then.
In honor of Ray Liotta.
In honor of good old Ray Liotta, man. Rest in peace to a real one. That's it for this episode of Cinema. We'll be back, like I said, in a couple of weeks. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.
Be well, everybody.
Bye.